So, one of the things I get asked a lot about at this time of year when people are feeling very tired, sluggish, and bloated after Christmas is what's the best diet? What should I try in terms of improving my health, maybe losing some weight, feeling more energized? And there's a lot of choice around, should you try keto? Is it vegan? Mediterranean diet. What else have we got? Counting macros, all sorts of things. There's, a plethora of diet choices that you could be making. So, how do you know which one is going to be the right one for you? So, the honest answer is it's the one that you can stick to. It's the one that's going to work with your lifestyle, your habits, your behaviors, your health history. And it's the one that doesn't feel like a diet to you, that you can see yourself doing it long term and it's more of a lifestyle. So, to be able to stick to it, what are the kind of key things that you need to be able to stick to the diet? Here are some of the things that I think are really important in terms of being able to increase the chances that you're going to stick to something. So you have to have a really powerful why and a very clear and specific goal, because you are going to struggle if you're just relying on willpower alone. So you need something to keep you motivated, to keep you focused on your goal, to keep you moving forward. So it's a step that often gets overlooked. Actually thinking about why this is important to you, how are you going to feel, what's going to be different when you've reached your goal. Um, the next one I think is really important in terms of, what the best diet has and that's flexibility. Because if your diet doesn't have flexibility, you can't go out socializing with people, you can't enjoy the foods that you love. It's going to make it very, very hard for you to stick to. So I often find, for example, clients are very keen to try keto. The promises are big in terms of rapid weight loss. But keto is very hard to stick to and still be able to go out and socialize and enjoy life with friends, and kind of really stick to the principles of keto. So I think if you're looking for something that is sustainable, flexibility is really, really important, because otherwise you're going to hit that sort of first obstacle when you get invited out somewhere and you are not going to be able to sort of handle that. Then you're going to feel like you failed, that you haven't been able to stick to it perfectly. And it leads to a whole sort of cycle of, going back to sort of your old ways that maybe not so optimal. And then you're looking for the next diet to try and you start thinking, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not committed enough. Maybe I don't have enough willpower. So it can lead to a whole cascade of issues. So the best diet from my perspective is the one that has a small calorie deficit. Energy balance really does matter. We can't get away from that fact. Um, but you don't want to go start off and take a big drop in calories straight off the bat, because when weight loss starts to plateau, it's going to be really, really hard to drop calories any further. So you want to find the sweet spot where you keep your calories as high as possible, but you're also in a position where you're losing weight. So this isn't easy to find. And I wouldn't normally recommend doing this long term, certainly, but actually tracking your calories and your macros at least in, for like a week or two. So you get a feel for how much you're eating, what a good portion size looks like. I think it can be a worthwhile exercise to help you figure out that sweet spot. Now, it's not something I recommend long term, because I think, tracking every single tiny thing that you're eating is just soul destroying. And, the calorie information in MyFitnessPal or even on food labels isn't always that accurate. So you can't rely on it 100% to know that you're doing it 100, like perfectly. So, take it with a pinch of salt. Like I said, it's just to kind of give you an idea of how much you're eating, and sort of the content of your food, so that you can work out that nice sweet spot where you keep your calories as high as possible, but you're in that kind of deficit, so you're losing weight. It's also important to remember that, yes, calorie is a calorie, but the way that your body deals with, processes, and absorbs certain calories can vary. For example, there's been a study recently that shows that if you take 100 calories of almonds and 100 calories of almond butter, actually you're much more likely to absorb more calories from the almond butter than you are the almonds. So that's not to say that it's a wide, big difference between the absorption, but actually, the type and content of food does affect, and your own sort of biochemical processes in your gut microbes, which all vary from person to person, actually does mean that you can absorb calories in a different way. Another example is sweet corn. If you're eating 100 calories of biscuits versus 100 calories of sweet corn, if you've ever gone to the toilet the next day, you know that you actually haven't absorbed and digested all of that sweet corn because it's right there looking back at you. So that's also something to bear in mind about, when you're thinking about calorie tracking and macro counting. It's a useful short-term tool to help you understand what you're eating and how much, but it's not necessarily a long-term strategy and something that I would rely on 100% in terms of accuracy. It's useful particularly because it makes sure that you're not actually eating too little calories. That's really, really important, because if you're having too little, then you're much more likely to end up where your body is crying out for food, you're starving all the time, really irritable, and then you potentially have a binge. And then again, that's going to lead to feelings of failure. They feel like not committed, you've got no willpower, and you kind of end up in this cycle where, you think you need to restrict further, but it leads to more binging, and you're kind of in this kind of binge and restrict cycle. So the best diet is one that has a small calorie deficit. It's also one that focuses on sustainable habits, things like cooking from scratch, eating a really wide variety of fruits and vegetables and plant-based food, focusing on more sleep, less stress, moving enough throughout the day. The best diet also is one that's combined with some kind of inner work, because a big problem that I think a lot of people face is emotional eating. So actually accompanying any kind of healthy eating program with something that looks at how you're managing your emotions and learning techniques to manage your emotions in a different way, again, is really going to be helpful for keeping you focused on your diet, moving in the right direction, making progress. Also, it's important to remember there's no wagon. There's no wagon that you fall off and get back on every Monday. In fact, the wagon should be pushed off the cliff and burnt. Because what this ultimately at the bottom of this is perfectionism. People want to, particularly at this time of year, start a new diet and do it perfectly. Any kind of slight deviation, I've eaten a chocolate bar, can quickly slip into snowballing into a whole week of bad eating. And then you're kind of starting again on Monday. This time it's going to be different. And actually, the problem is that you're trying to do it perfectly rather than just making progress, just improving on the day before, just improving on last week. So actually, learning to be able to have a chocolate bar or whatever your favorite food is, enjoy it, move on, and not let it snowball is a really, really important part of making this a lifestyle, making it sustainable. And it's going to ultimately help you reach your goals a lot quicker in the long run. Then the other one is talking about obstacles and setbacks and socializing, because in real life there's going to be lots of stuff that comes up. And I was having this conversation with a client recently, actually, because she was saying to me, oh well, it's January, yeah, I really want to get things back on track, but this always happens to me. I've got this afternoon tea at the weekend. And I'm like, well, that's great actually, because you need to have situations, you need to learn how to navigate social situations and still be able to have that in the context of an overall healthy diet. So, you can't avoid these things. And again, it goes back to the point around flexibility. You need to have that flexibility. You need to learn how to deal with these situations, to be able to, A, most importantly, enjoy it and have fun, but also B, kind of it fits within a healthy diet. And some of the kind of strategies that I get clients to use are, perhaps if you're going out for a meal, you have 2 courses instead of 3, you have a minimum number of alcohol-free days, you have maybe a bank of 5 meals, healthy lunches, breakfast, dinners, whatever it is, that are really quick and easy. So if you haven't had time to do any food prep, or life's busy, whatever it is, you can easily fall back on these strategies to be able to kind of still meet your health goals. Then another common thing that I see with clients is it, you know, it's easy to overcomplicate things. It's easy to um, overcomplicate them and make it harder than it needs to be. And by this, I mean, if you're working long hours, like picking out a diet that involves cooking from scratch every single night, and there's a long list of ingredients, and the meals are quite complicated, and you're not someone who is used to cooking meals from scratch, that's going to be quite hard to sustain. So you need to make sure that it's working. It's simple, it's working for your lifestyle, and that you can manage this in the long term. So if I have got a client who's not used to cooking that much, then we work with, like, what are the kind of best healthy options that you can make from what you're currently eating? Can we make it healthier? And then trying to sort of gradually incorporate new recipes in each week so that you get used to cooking, you build up your kind of repertoire of food that you're eating, rather than just kind of like diving right in and trying to, like cook every single meal from scratch. And it's really, like quite complicated recipes to do. And I think that's a lot of the problem when you see, as much as I hate to say it, nutritionist plans. They often have like quite complicated ingredients, or like long list of ingredients, things that you maybe don't find in your normal supermarket, which, yes, are really healthy, but not everyone's kind of got all of this stuff in their cupboard or available to them. And so it can be quite hard to just suddenly jump from where you're currently at into making all this food that's really, really healthy. You've also got to be in it for the long term, and recognize that this isn't a quick fix, because change isn't going to be linear. Your progress is not going to be linear. Some weeks that if you have a weight loss goal, you might lose 2 pounds. The next week you might lose none. The next week you might put on 1, and then the week after that it could be 3 or 4 pounds that you lose. And so there's no quick fixes, because you end up just kind of gaining back the weight and then some. And so you just end up thinking, well, maybe I'm going to be stuck like this. And again, it gets you into that sort of negative thinking that there's something wrong with you. And actually, it's not you. It's just that you haven't found what works for you. Accountability and support are really, really helpful as well in terms of helping you reach your goals. So having someone to cheer you on, to motivate you, to remember, like help you see how far you've come, to, help you when you're feeling like you're giving up, that can really boost your progress. And so having all of this stuff that we've just been talking about with accountability and support are definitely going to set you up for much greater success than if you're trying to do it on your own, because it's very easy to kind of slip back to where you started. And also, having the best diet is one where the benefits go way beyond the scale. So they include, more confidence, more energy, better sleep, less stress, your skin's glowing, you just feel really good about yourself. So really focusing on the things that go much more beyond your size of clothes, how much you weigh, is really important. And I think overall, there's no one size fits all when it comes to diet. The best diet is the one that's personalized to you. It's personal to your habits, your behaviors, your lifestyle, the things that you like, the things that you hate, your activity levels, your health history, whether you've got any health concerns. So it has to be personalized. And that's what I help clients with, is how to find what works for them, because it's very easy to get sucked into these kind of big generic plans, keto, Mediterranean, whatever it is. And I'm not saying that those diets don't have benefits, they don't have positives. Some of them absolutely do. But they still may not be right for you and your lifestyle. So if you'd like to find out more about, how do you put some of this into practice, what are the most important things for you to focus on, then just drop me a DM. I do a free chat. It's no obligation, it's not salesy. You'll get a 3-step action plan of things that you need to focus on. Whether you decide to work with me or not, you come away with that 3-step action plan that's tailored to you. So just drop me a DM if that's something you're interested in. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.